Hi guys, so I'm here from Missouri State. It's just me. I'm Micah. I'm a senior in getting my bachelor's in psychology. Graduate this fall. Yes, this is my second year at AERA, and I'll be joining WashU in the fall. I'll be joining their social and personality doctoral program. I'll be continuing doing very similar analyses on Black feminism and how our identity is developing. So, but I do have to shout out Dr. Payne, Dr. Ashley Nicole Payne to be exact. This is her lab, it's her Black Girlhood Research Lab. She just had a baby, and so she got to take care of the baby. So, and then Riley is our grad student in the lab. And yeah, so here we go. We're gonna look at how body image is impacted by, or body image of Black women and Black young women and adolescents impacted by hip hop feminism and other theories of Black feminism. So this is just table of contents. So the body image of problem. So to begin with, what is body image? Body image is your perception of your body, how you feel when you think about it, how you feel when you look at yourself in the mirror. Any of those things work. So we all know that research has continually proven that positive body image is associated with positive self-image, mental health, identity, and then negative body image is influenced with like the opposite. So negative self-image, identity, things of that nature. So what we're looking at is like, what are the moderators of this, and what are the moderators, and how can we influence and kind of like, not necessarily intervene, because we can't intervene if we don't know yet. So look at the main issues. So body image, so what impacts body image? So we have different media sources. You have traditional media, and then you have social media. So social media and cultivation theory show traditional media as showcased as a platform for beauty benchmarks. That's where you get your beauty ideals from. And then these ideals note a commonality of thinness. And these are showcased as our body comparisons using cultivation theory. So when we see whatever we see on this screen, we're continually seeing supermodel after supermodel, Victoria's Secret model. Then of course we're gonna start associating with that, allegedly. But for Black women who are not represented a lot in traditional media, we also look at social media figures. We have influencers, rappers and their wives and their girlfriends. Those are additional comparisons that we make. And so another previous research has shown some moderation of social media, more of like the exposure, the time spent per day, and how much you're engaging with that media and how that influences body image. So, but the thing is with those findings, they have been kind of inconsistent because a lot of earlier research showed that like Black adolescent women had like higher body satisfaction, confidence, and self-confidence, which is true with the measures that they were using. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking at thinness and being very skinny as the question that you're asking, that's not necessarily appropriate or relevant to Black girls, because there is a difference in our beauty standard. That's essentially it. So although there is a higher body satisfaction, that's because the questions were not relevant to them, because as recent studies have started to see that Black adolescent girls were as likely as to endorse thinness and engage in disordered eating behaviors, as long as you acknowledge that thinness is not the same and it's just a beauty ideal. Because, and we have, here it is, we have some of the more culturally specific factors. So you have the gendered racial identity, so differences of what a woman should look like versus like Black women. We have competing images of Black womanhood. We have hip hop and Black culture, as I mentioned earlier, the representation of like what a woman's body is supposed to look like. Regionality, a lot of Southern Black women use being thick. That's actually, we did another research over the word thick. Because you're supposed to be thick, and you'll see later how our some of our participants work out that theory of being thick. And then overall ideologies, like, there's different buffers, so therefore when you're using those surveys of body confidence, if you're not looking for the right things, you're not going to get the right answers. So what we've been doing So that's something that we're gonna do. We're gonna use hip hop and Black cyberfeminism and a lot of Black feminism thought to explore the interconnection of the psychosocial things. So we have hip hop and social media and how that influences their adolescence. So first research question, how do psychosocial factors impact how Black girls and women develop their body image? How do Black adolescent girls and college women view the role of hip hop on their identity? And how do hip hop and social media influence how Black adolescent girls and college women negotiate, reject, and commit body image ideals? So now we get to go in the framework. I'm smiling just because I love reading theory. So we'll start with just general Black feminism thought. We have some key texts: Beyond Respectability, Black Feminist Thought, Hood Feminism came out about 8 years ago by Maggie Kendall. Love that book. We have Hip Hop Feminism. Of course, we have Effing with the Grays. Dr. Payne said I could say like Effing with the Grays, but I'm like, my grandma's here, I told y'all. Yeah, my grandma's right there. Ratchet imagery, trap feminism, and then also Dr. Payne and another professor, Dr. Nicole West, published a hip-hop feminism model of multiple identities, and it just showcases how we use those images that we see with like in Joan Morgan, within PHCs, like the controlling images, how that's kind of transferred over time and how we negotiate with those. And then Black cyberfeminism and digital feminism is a newer text, and so there's not any like hallmarks of it yet, but it focuses on how Black women and their identities engage with the internet. It's very simple. And so you have an identity tourism, where you may pretend to be yourself, or maybe be like neutral and not show anyone your race, or like having digital spaces like Black Twitter versus just Twitter, and how that helps their interactions. So yeah, here's some of the mythology. So we're doing a case study technically, but what we do is we have a bigger program, and that's what this is part of. It's a YPAR, Youth Participatory Action Research. Cool, I agree. And so what we do is we go to our local high schools. This happens every year. It's a 10-week program where we have Black college women, and then we have the high schoolers, and they pair them up as mentees and mentors. I said they like I wasn't there. And we pair each other up, and then we have each week has a different theme: identity, racism, body image, and yeah, it's YPAR. It's called Black Girls Research. I'll show you our Instagram later because we do cool things. But this is our data from last year's program that I coded over the summer. It was really fun. Sources of data are pre and post pre and post program interviews, and then we use constant comparative thematic analysis along with some grounded theory. Yeah, so here's our themes. Oh, I'm doing good on time. Overall theme. So our first theme will focus on early developmental experiences and how that informs their identity. We'll look at relationships and ideologies that are connected to men and like patriarchy, and how that impacts it. And then we'll look at how hip hop and social media provide representation that's not necessarily always good or bad, but how the college women then take that in and like deconstruct that and navigate that. And this is, I didn't make that clear this time, but this data is only the pre and post for the mentors and not the mentees, because the mentees only do a post interview. So that's why it's only college women. Okay, theme 1, early developmental experiences. So we're looking at the disparity in puberty experiences between Black and white girls and how that influences how Black girls then move around in the world later on in their experiences. We're looking at generational ideologies, family socialization regarding gender racial identities, and then also religious identity. And so I have a couple quotes. They're long, we're not gonna read all of them, that's what the bold's for. A key part in this one by Green, these are all pseudonyms. That's something that had been pounding them growing up, where it says like, you're skinny up top, you need to put meat on your bones, or you need to start eating more. That's something that they, as in our older family members, mostly women, put into them as they were young, and so then they're passing it on to the younger generations. And that's the thing that a lot of Black women like go through or have to experience. So just showcase how generational ideologies and also familial conception of what your body should look like influence them necessarily, and like kind of laid the hallmark, because there's something in their generation, like their parents, their work with that just means they keep passing it along, essentially. No need to over explain things. And so then this is talking more about the puberty thing. So no one looked like me at all. Even none of my friends looked like me, and they didn't go through puberty until like mid-high school, when she went through it in 7th grade. And I didn't really know what to do because I kind of looked like a woman really early on, and it was weird. I was just kind of like always cornered myself or like put myself in the back because I didn't want the attention to be on me. They speak for themselves. The mentors be cooking sometimes. I'm so proud of them. So then we're gonna look at patriarchal ideologies and relationships with men. And so we have relationships with men, which are like your family, your fathers, and also your peers. Messages for men, societal, as in social media, hip hop, etc., etc. And then how much it really does influence the beauty standard. Okay, so whenever I'm listening to hip hop artists, women, I can feel empowered, like, oh, I can do whatever I want. But then with Black men, it's just very hard to want to listen to it because it discriminates against body sizes, skin colors, and a bunch of stuff that makes me a little insecure sometimes. This is this supports previous hip hop feminism, like 101, of how Black women are trying to navigate how they want to exist in the hip hop space. However, it kind of differs between Joan Morgan, as instead of just accepting that, accepting the men artists as they are, they're choosing to just not engage with them because of the mass representation of Black women now on artists. You got Meg, you got Glow, everyone's there. You don't have to really focus in on that. But yeah. And then we have thing 3, hip hop and social media, as representations of current beauty standards. So we, hip hop and social media are imaginary spaces, possibilities where Black girls and women can do de and reconstruct identities. So this de and reconstructing identities has been a huge thing in identity development recently. I don't know how many of them are published yet, but some people are showing the navigatory process that Black women go through, where they are constantly in a thing of taking in images and negotiating with them. So they never, let's say you have a bad stereotype of a Black woman, you see that and you may say like, oh, this is something good I like from that stereotype, this is something bad. And that way it's a filter before they perceive themselves as a protection method. So like you're receiving images, but you can never know if you can trust them or not. So you go through a process of like being like, But yeah, so that's what this is talking about. And so it just how examples of Black women in those spaces then show the blueprint of the navigation. So instead of you having to be like, oh, I don't know how I feel about this, you can kind of see how they're dealing with it and then kind of take that from them, which is lovely. So I think Black women being able to flaunt themselves, brag about themselves, be happy about themselves, makes it easier for me to do that. Megan Thee Stallion, she's so tall, and like people will try to bring her down for being masculine, but she'll go on social media all day and tell you how much she loves herself. So I feel like if she can find a way not to care about thousands of people telling her that she looks a certain way, I can do it too. And that's why I mentor Summer. I retweet, hard agree everything that she says there. But yeah, it just shows how Megan Thee Stallion and how she's just that girl, and how much she really does help everyone around the board, no matter what those shade room posts, comments say. The shade room. And then I would say like hip hop just shows Black women have diverse bodies too. Like you have Megan Thee Stallion, who's tall, Rihanna, we can do Ice Spice, Summer, like every single one of them have different body types, which I don't know if I agree with, and show that we're not all supposed to be one way because we're a certain race. That's not real life, and you're still like pretty and big. And there is an influx of diversity in hip hop. You have Maya the Don, who is plus size rapper, still talks very braggadocious, very fire, and just how these different women are breaking into hip hop, bringing rec, as some might say, and kind of changing the landscape. Okay, so no. This is a really good one. I'm running out of time, but like hip hop wants thick, it's slim thick, and perfect body type, like BBL body type, and then sometimes they want thin thick, and so it's like, which one do I go to? And what happens if I don't fit into either one of those things?
Right.
So it really makes me self-conscious as well. That's why I have to keep my algorithm, like she's basically saying, specifically to like tailor for her, because it makes me a little selfish or self-conscious. Oh, why is that repeated? Anyways, but yeah, this is a really good one because it does show how there is those different body images, but how they always change, because at the end of the day, you can't change yourself based because of other people, because then where are you going to be? They're going to still do that, and they're going to change the body ideals the next day. Just how like people are like, oh yeah, people are taking their BBLs out now. It's hard to navigate these type of issues.
Tell us what BBL stands.
Oh, Brazilian butt lift. It was a huge thing around the last 5 years of a procedure, you know, to increase your butt, specifically around non-black people though, specifically. But yeah, a lot of Instagram influencers receive them. Okay, conclusions. So we want to look at the conflicts in social messaging cause identity and psychological distress. We saw that kind of in a couple of those where they're taking those things away. That I didn't just say, that was not a word that I just said. They're comparing themselves and kind of like stressed out about because you don't know what to do, because you don't get the best of both worlds. We have the treatment that they receive from black men impacts their body ideals. They were more talking about like what is the point of listening to male hip hop artists? There's probably a quote from me too in there as well. We have the hip hop and social media are imaginary spaces where black girls can simultaneously seek out and redefine their identities. We see this as more experimental artists like Rico Nasty. We have Baby Tate, just everyone who's just being a little weird, and they can, because that's the space for them. And then how these intersect to complicate the overall social navigation process of black girls and women. And so lastly, we have our implications. So we want to increase culturally relevant and responsive pedagogies, as we mentioned earlier. When you're not asking the right questions, there's no way you can get the right answers. We want to, advocate for more programming. A lot of educational research has been focused on policy change, which is important. However, the girls in high school right now can't wait for that policy change. They need us in those schools. I just love mentoring. But yeah, so we want to create in and out of school spaces, that third space for black girls, so they can critique and have a healthy space to build their identities. And then it's also a call to explore black adolescent and young adult interpersonal. We were not expecting how much each participant kind of talked about their relationship with black men and hip hop artists and stuff. And so the male dominated black spaces kind of caused a lot of black women to disengage with hip hop almost completely, or at least male hip hop. Kind of depends on, I have another paper coming out on that. But yeah, so it's just a call to keep looking into that, because I can find any studies that kind of explore that current climate, because it is an interesting one. And yeah, that's that. Here's Dr. Payne. There's our Instagram. That's our logo one of our mentors made. And yes, thank you.